Hey guys, this is Goldy again, and in this video I will show you how you can leverage recently launched feature called macros in Google Sheets and automate some of your processes. So let me take my use case here. So I have this use case where I go to admin console, I export the report in Google Sheet, and then I need to format that sheet, delete the columns that I don't need, and then once do some formatting, and then finally send that sheet to my, for example, client. So I will be automating that by using macro so that I don't need to take those boring actions. So what I need to do is, for example, I'm in my G Suite admin console. I will quickly download the sheet and make it a Google Sheet. And once we are in Google Sheet, I'll show you how to use macro. So here is my Google Sheet, and it has a lot of columns which I don't need to send. If you look at the name, that doesn't make much sense. And I need to format it a bit so it looks good. So first what I do is I go to tools, and under tools you will see this macros, and then I will be clicking on record macro to start recording our macro. So click on that. Now you will see two options. One is absolute reference and the other one is relative references. As they say by their name, absolute references means if every time your table will be static, all the columns will be same, then you should go with absolute references, else you should be using relative ones. So in my case, every time my sheet will look like this when I start, so I'll just go with this one, and then I will start doing some things. For example, the first one is I'm going to rename this sheet, and let's call it G Suite login report. Okay, and then I will also rename it here, and I will say G Suite admin login report. Okay, and then I'm gonna delete the columns that I don't need. So for example, from here to the last, let's delete all the columns and make it clean. Let us also delete all the rows from here, so it looks clean. And now I will delete the columns which I don't need. For example, I don't need all these columns. All I need is email address, first name, last name, two-step status, and enforcement status. Okay, and now I will select this and make sure that all the columns are containing all the details. And then what I'll do is I'll select this, and then I'll go to format. I will click on alternating colors, and let us pick maybe this one, or maybe this one looks good. So let's do this, and then finally I will bold the first row. Okay, so now my sheet looks pretty good. I will go ahead and save my macro, and let's call it admin, or maybe let's call it login report formatter. Okay, if I want, I can also assign it a shortcut, but for now I will just click on save. So my macro is now saved, and it says added script. So what macro exactly does it's a kind of business version or a user-friendly version of Google's app script. So if you go to tools, if you go to script editor, you will find the script that it just created based on our actions it was recording. So if required, you can also maybe change this. So for example, if you want to make your sheet name something else, you can change it here, and your macro will be changed accordingly. Okay, so let me close this, and let's go ahead and do the roll back to where we were when we started this. So our sheet was like this when we started. Let's restore to that version. Okay, and let's give this to a kind of weird name, because we want to see that Google macro does it for us. So this is the sheet we started, and now because we recorded the macro, I'll go to tools, macros, and I will find my macros right here, the one which I recorded, which says login report formatter. I will click on that, and this macro is kind of app script, so it is asking my permission to run it on my behalf. And I'll click on that, and it will ask me about the permissions for the following. So if you look at that, this is the permission it needs. So I'm okay with that. As soon as I click allow, the script will, or the macro is going to run, and it will do everything which I did, and it automatically created my sheet like the way I want it to. So now onwards, whenever I need to take all these steps, instead of me doing it manually, I can simply go to tools and I can either click on this, or I can also assign a shortcut to this. The only downside which I think of macros is that they only work with this specific sheet. So if I go ahead and if I download one more file, and this time it's gonna be a new Google Sheet, I can't really take my macro which I recorded to this new sheet. It will only work with the one which I was using. So if I go to tools here and I go to macro, I don't see my macro in the new sheet. It is only applicable to that sheet. However, if you add like one more sheet here and you put all your data there, so for example this one, right, and if I delete, let's say, this sheet, and now I have this sheet, then it should be able to do that on this one, as you see here. So this is it, I guess. This is still super friendly, very easy, don't need to do any programming. So if you have some of those use cases where you do a lot of stuff manually, start exploring macros. And in case if you have any feedback or any questions, put that below this video and I'll be happy to help. Thank you so much, guys.